Fractured World History presents Roanoke and the Croatoan Embrace, written by Paul Fisherman. The ones that were taken, the Croatoans will use them to have their vengeance run for all is lost. 19-year-old Rachel watches in silent terror as tears roll down her cheeks from two eyes wrought with grief. 2 nights ago, all the children, including hers, disappeared, and the search party that spent the night desperately trying to locate any tracks never returned. The only clues to mark their fates were the booming roars of musket fire and screams terrible enough to make the blood freeze in any who heard it. A week ago, an unfortunate war broke out between the Virginian colonists and the local native population. Steel met flint and spear in a conflict that left every native dead. The colonial celebrations ended once a native witch uttered a curse at the walls in unmistakable English. You have broken the balance of the land. Tonight the Croatoan spirit shall visit this place, and the ones lost will return to you to reap their recompense until only one remains alive. Fear shall overtake every heart, and the last to live will barter their soul for salvation of the little ones before deathless sleep takes them. Rachel holds an empty basket close to her breast. It once held a newborn girl, but now carries the endless tears over a lost child. Her husband Henry was among the first to go out, but fate made her a childless widow in an unforgiving land. Whatever took her family won't take her as easy, she swears by everything holy. The rest of the night creeps by, making minutes become hours and hours into days. By the time the man on the table dies from shock, Rachel has no more tears to give. Morning time comes, but no rooster crows, as if even the animals know that damnation rests upon this place. Before the sun even fully touches the sky, a sentry alerts the unrested populace. Movement in the trees, get to the wall. In seconds, everyone gathers around the battlements, while outside in the clearing await the 15 missing members. The men carry no weapons and stand perfectly upright. Rachel joins the rest in shouting praises to God as a mighty cheer reaches the sky. Everyone cheers except the preacher. Where are their weapons? Why would they return without sword, spear, or gun? An awkward silence fills those pensive minds until dark-haired Claudia breaks the tension. I don't care about why. God has been kind enough to return them. Don't be a fool and let them in. The sentry's words raise a terror. Nothing stops him from approaching, nor did I instruct him to stay away. Now no one dares to get close, as even long-lost family and loved ones stand perfectly still. Give everyone arms to bear, men with long spears and women with guns. The preacher orders to the 50 men who still guard the town. Claudia whines in protest. Why must we greet our loved ones with weapons like an enemy at our gates? The preacher responds with distributing firearms. If they bore us no ill will, they'd be home by now. Rachel overhears the conversation while retrieving Henry's rifle from their empty home. Upon returning, she finds everyone manning a post, save for one. The colonists shout warnings and threats at Claudia as she runs to embrace her spouse. It takes mere seconds to turn joy into murder as the friends descend on her like ravenous wolves. Blood and gore fly in the seconds that follow. Everyone except the most veteran among the onlookers vomit and helplessly watch the woman die. The priest is first among them to let a musket ball fly, sending the projectile into the chest of a cannibal. It pierces their body with ease, but does little to unstep them. Now the screamless horde turn their attention to the walls, where every musket greets them under a wall of black smoke. The musket tears holes into cold flesh, and Rachel struggles to keep her shaking hands from failing to reload the weapon. Independent fire sees the bodies fall, only to stand up shortly after the rounds hit. Headshots and chest wounds do nothing to stop them as they reach the walls. The settlers keep firing at the attackers while they climb, leaving a trail of bloody handprints with every inch of traversal. Rachel discharges a musket into the face of a former friend, sending them falling from the palisade and into a wooden spike below. The monster thrashes wildly but shows no signs of agony from wounds that would kill even the mightiest of men. The session of reloads is interrupted as several men and women find themselves set upon by the enemy. Their swords cut into flesh but do little to slow the menace, even as their still-moving limbs fly. The preacher orders those to flee for their lives. Muskets still fire at the enemy, as the reinforcements made up of their recently killed allies quickly fill their ranks. Rachel cries in horror as a cold, dead Henry sprints to bond them in undead matrimony. She instinctively fires a rebuttal of gunpowder into his forehead. The projectile jerks his head back and leaves a large hole, but doesn't stop the onslaught. A brutal backhand sends Rachel onto her back, and he lunges to feast on the woman's warm flesh. Rachel shrieks as fear paralyzes every inch of her. A loud crack comes from the preacher's boot as it makes contact with the side of Henry's skull, sending bits of brain and coagulated blood flying while another blow knocks him back. The preacher then drives a sword through the opponent's chest and pins him to the floor. "Run, my child, run. Don't look back, for all is lost," he orders as Henry pulls the rest of his flesh off the sword and pounces on the holy man. Rachel doesn't look back as the screaming in the settlement goes silent, one person at a time. She flees into the woods as fast as his feet can carry her until a few hours go by. Eventually, exhaustion takes its toll, and the adrenaline that carried the flight abandons her. She collapses and cries herself to sleep. When waking, a silent crowd surrounds her where she slept. Rachel screamed after recognizing the faces of those who died last night or mere hours before. Among them stands the native witch who uttered the curse. Rachel flinches when they reach for the Englishwoman's face. Such a pity that such a beautiful thing must suffer for the sins of others. Stop resisting and give yourself to the Croatoan's embrace. Rachel swats a hand free and immediately seizes her hands around the woman's throat. "I'll kill you for what you've done. This is for my baby." The native woman chokes a warning through the strangulation. "Kill me and the children perish." The words loosen her hands. "Where are they?" Rachel keeps her hands ready to finish the job. "Safe in a place where they will grow safely from the corruption that your people bring. There will be a time the Europeans will take this land, but for now it is safe. Go back to Roanoke and carve a warning on the walls of your village, and the spirits will ensure that no harm ever comes to the children." Rachel agrees and walks with the procession of the dead, following her every step. Once reaching Roanoke, she marvels how clean it looks, no sign of blood marks on the walls, and every trace of blood erased. The witch gives her a knife and instructs her to write the word Croatoan on the side of the wooden wall. Once complete, she sticks out a hand and demands the sacred blade's return. Rachel hesitates and asks, "The children will be safe no matter what happens? Give me the Croatoan sacred word." The native woman smiles. "No harm will ever come to those under their protection. Now give me the blade and ready to sacrifice your soul for penance." Rachel smirks and uses every bit of strength left to dig the blade into the native witch's throat. She ignores the screams and twists the points to make sure the job is done. The broken Englishwoman's laugh as the witch's lifeless corpse falls. And now that her vengeance is complete, Rachel screams as the dead lunge to kill her. "I told you I wouldn't go down easy. I spit in the Croatoan's face." Rachel's laughs echo unto death, and even now in the middle of the night, those who live in Virginia swear that they can still hear a vengeful woman's laughter in the middle of the night. The end.